welcome back to Bretta's Book Nook. I am excited because I am getting ready to announce my 20 books of 2025 that are on my TBR as of right now. I've done a lot of immersion in different booktubers and Goodreads and hardcover and all these other different apps that you can use for finding books that are coming out. Now, obviously, I know about all the big ones, Onyx Storm and the new Red Rising that is coming out, which actually isn't coming out until next year. Darn it. So, essentially, I'm just going to go over what I've found that has really piqued my interest this year, and it's my official TBR for 2025. And it's just 20, and then I'll probably come back and do monthly updates for things that have been added each month. But today, February 6th, we're going to jump right in. I will put a little graphic up here for each book that I mention, just so you guys can see the cover. And a couple of them, I do have multiple covers because I absolutely love seeing the UK covers or the special edition covers that are coming out. And I've got to find a way to get a couple of these UK covers because they're insanely gorgeous. So I apologize if I read because these are the book blurbs that I have found. None of these are in order, by the way. These are just randomly assembled into a list. Daughter of Chaos by A.S. Webb. For mortals to be free, the gods must fall. In ancient Greece, mortals suffer under the tyranny of the gods, forced to sacrifice food they depend on, their worldly possessions, and even each other at the whims of the 12. But an ancient prophecy speaks of hope, of one who will set humankind free. On the island of Naxos, Danae, a fisherman's daughter, develops strange powers tied to a mysterious tree bearing golden fruit. Driven from her home, she seeks guidance from the oracle, but finds only more questions, and whispers of a secret network of believers who have long been awaiting her arrival. Determined to learn more, Danae joins forces with the legendary Heracles, woohoo, I love Heracles, and his crew. Together, they battle monsters and gods alike on a quest to the end of the world as Danae seeks the one who holds the key to her destiny. But a terrifying truth is yet to be unlocked, a truth that could destroy the world as she knows it. Danae must choose to follow her destiny or her heart, while the fate of humanity rests on her shoulders. I absolutely love God retellings, whether it's Norse, Celtic, Roman, Greek, it doesn't matter. I absolutely love hearing stories that center around mythology. I fell in love with mythology as a child. I've read all of the Percy Jackson series, so this one has me really excited. Our second book is The Book Club for Troublesome Women by Marie Bostwick. This book does not come out until April 22nd of this year. Margaret Ryan never really meant to start a book club or a feminist revolution in her buttoned-up suburb. By 1960s standards, Margaret Ryan is living the American woman's dream. She has a husband, 3 children, a station wagon, and a home in Concordia, one of Northern Virginia's most exclusive and picturesque suburbs. She has a standing invitation to the neighborhood Coffee Clatch, and now, thanks to her husband, a new subscription to A Woman's Place, a magazine that tells housewives like Margaret exactly who to be and what to buy. On paper, she has it all. So why doesn't that feel like enough? Margaret is thrown for a loop when she first meets Charlotte Gustafson, Concordia's newest and most intriguing resident. As an excuse to be in the mysterious Charlotte's orbit, Margaret concocts a book club get-together and invites 2 other neighborhood women, Bitsy and Viv, to the inaugural meeting. As the women share secrets, cocktails, and their honest reactions to the controversial bestseller, The Feminine Mystique, they begin to discover that the American dream they'd been sold isn't all roses and sunshine, and that their secret longing for more is something they share. nicknaming themselves the Bettys, after Betty Friedan. These four friends have no idea their impromptu club and the books they read together will become the glue that helps them hold fast through tears, triumphs, angst, and arguments, and what will prove to be the most consequential and freeing year of their lives. This is very outside my normal reading range. I'm a big lover of fantasy, but this year has been intentionally planned to jump out of my comfort zone when it comes to reading. So this one is going to be a lot of fun. I think that it'll probably have some laughs. I'm hoping, crossing my fingers. So number 3 is Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fato. Grimwald's England. Winifred Naughty arrives at Enser House, prepared to play the perfect governess. She'll dutifully tutor her charges, Drusilla and Andrew, tell them bedtime stories, and only joke about eating children. But long, listless days spent within the estate's dreary confines come with an intimate knowledge of the perversions and pathetic preoccupations of the Pounds family. Mr. Pounds can't keep his eyes off of Winifred's chest, and Mrs. Pounds takes a sickly pleasure in punishing Winifred for her husband's wandering gaze. Compounded with her disdain for the entitled Pounds children, Winifred finds herself struggling at every turn to stifle the violent compulsions of her past. Sorry, that would be my puppy. French tutoring and needlework are one way to pass the time, as is admiring the ugly portraits in the gallery and creeping across the moonlit lawns. Patience. Winifred must have patience, for Christmas is coming, and she has very special gifts planned for the dear souls of Enser House. Okay. This one has me nervous, but I'm still super intrigued. First Time Caller is number 4, and that is by B.K. Borison. This book does not release until the 13th of February, and it looks like a cozy romance. Aidan Valentine has a secret. He has fallen out of love with love. And as the host of Baltimore's romantic hotline, that's a bit of a problem. But when a young girl calls in to the station asking for dating advice for her mom, the interview goes viral, thrusting Aidan and heartstrings into the limelight. Lucy Stone thought she was doing just fine. She has a good job, an incredible family, and a smart, slightly devious kid. But when all of Baltimore is suddenly scrutinizing her love life, or lack thereof, she begins to question if she's as happy as she believed. Maybe a little more romance wouldn't be such a bad thing. Everyone wants Lucy to find her happy ending, even the handsome, temperamental man calling the shots. But when sparks start to fly behind the scenes, Lucy must make the final decision between the radio-sponsored happily ever after or the man in the headphones next to her. This one sounds really cute, and it actually makes me think of an old show that I watched with Heather Locklear and Hilary Duff back in the day. Super cute little like rom-com. I'll pop a little screenshot of the movie because I can't remember the name, but it'll pop up right here so you guys can see that. But super cute, sounds fun, and I think this one will be a really easy read. We're at number 5, I Am Made of Death by Kelly Andrew. This one releases in March on the 4th. Following the death of his father, Thomas Walsh had to grow up quickly, taking on odd jobs to keep food on the table and help pay his gravely ill mother's medical bills. When he's offered a highly paid position as an interpreter for an heiress who exclusively signs, Thomas, the hearing child of a deaf parent, jumps at the opportunity. But the job is not without its challenges. Thomas is expected to accompany Vivian wherever she goes. But from the start, she seems determined to shake him. To make matters worse, her parents keep her on an extremely short leash. She is not to go anywhere without express permission, She is not to deviate from her routine. She is most importantly not allowed to go out after dark. A selective mute, Vivian Farrow hasn't said a word in years, not since going missing in Red Rock Canyon when she was 4 years old. No one knows quite what happened to her out in the dark. They only know that the sound of her voice is now as deadly as a poison. Anyone who hears her speak suffers a horrible death. Ever since that fatal family vacation, Vivian has been desperately searching for a way to regain control of both her voice and her body. Because the face staring out of the mirror isn't hers. It's something with teeth. Thankfully, Vivian has a plan. She's finally found someone who claims to be able to perform a surgical exorcism. She just needs to find a way to get rid of Thomas first. But Thomas can't afford to walk away, nor is he willing to abandon the mysterious girl he's quickly falling for, no matter what dark powers threaten to swallow them both whole. So this one sounds a little bit supernatural, which sounds fun. Next book, it is already out, and it actually has two separate covers. One's a UK cover and one's the US cover. And in this instance, I really love the US cover. So they'll both be up here, and I'll mark which one's which. Dragons soar through the skies and protest. I guess it would help if I introduced the book, right? A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson. Now, this is one I've seen a lot on BookTube, so I am very excited about this one. Dragons soar through the skies and protests erupt on the streets, but Vivian Featherswallow isn't worried. She's going to follow the rules, get a summer internship studying dragon languages, be smart, be sweet, and make sure her little sister never, ever has to risk growing up third class. She just has to free one dragon. By midnight, Viv has started a civil war. With her parents and cousin arrested and her sister missing, Viv is brought to Bletchley Park as a codebreaker. If she succeeds, she and her family can all go home again. If she doesn't, they'll all die. As Viv begins to discover the secrets of a hidden dragon language, she realizes that the fragile peace treaty that holds human and dragon societies together is corrupt. And the dangerous work Viv is doing could be the thread that unravels it. Yes, 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 yes. I love these kinds of stories. They're the joining of, these class systems, and I love the interspecies friendships, very similar to the Fourth Ward books, and they are really good. Sorry, my husband decided he wanted to interrupt. He was being a goofball. All right, the next one we have is number 7 on my list, and it is Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. Now, this one is a much later release. This one doesn't come out till August 19th, and I've heard really amazing things about T. Kingfisher. I've never read any of their books, so this will be a new experience for me. But it sounds extremely good. It is a retelling of a fairy tale, and it almost didn't have me, but the last part of the blurb is what got me. Healer Anya knows little of politics, but much of poisons. When she is summoned to treat the mysterious illness afflicting the king's daughter, she finds herself against the clock. Desperate to track down the source of the poison killing Princess Snow, but the chance discovery of a strange alternate world inside a magic mirror leads Anya to darker discoveries, including what really happened to Snow's dead sister Rose, and why their mother seemingly went mad and cut out her own heart. Aided by a taciturn bodyguard and a narcissistic cat, and a late Renaissance understanding of the scientific method, Anya must navigate the mysteries of the mirror world before the dark queen that dwells within rises to threaten them all. See, all I had to have was that narcissistic cat, and I am sold. I love talking animals. They make things fun. All right. This next book is a very interesting one for me. It is translated. It is originally in Japanese, I believe, and it is translated to English, but it's got a very interesting story, very fun. And this one is The Full Moon Coffee Shop by Mai Mochizuki. If I messed that up, I'm sorry. And it's translated by Jesse Kirkwood. In Japan, cats are a symbol of good luck. As the myth goes, if you are kind to them, they'll one day return the favor. And if you are kind to the right cat, you might just find yourself invited to a mysterious coffee shop under a glittering Kyoto moon. This particular coffee shop is like no other. It has no fixed location, no fixed hours, and it seemingly appears at random. It's also run by talking cats. Yay! While customers at the Full Moon Coffee Shop partake in cakes and coffees and teas, the cats also consult their star charts, offering cryptic wisdom and letting them know where their lives veered off course. Every person who visits the shop has been feeling more than a little lost. For a down-on-her-luck screenwriter, a romantically stuck movie director, a hopeful hairstylist, and a technologically challenged website designer, the coffee shop's feline guides will set them back on their fated paths. For there is a special reason the shop appeared to each of them. So this sounds like a really fun little story. I love the idea of this, and I like the way it ties into, you know, how cats are lucky in Japan and just kind of the mythos around that. So I'm excited about this one. It's definitely going to be an interesting read, I think. And that one is actually already out. So if you're interested, there's something that's a little different that you can try. Our 9th book, so we're almost halfway there, The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This one comes out April 15th. Okay, let us fly now to the Empire of Orun, where, after 24 years of peace, Burson the Brusque must end his reign. In the dizzying heat of midsummer, 7 contenders compete to replace him. They are exceptional warriors, thinkers, strategists, the best of the best. Then one of them is murdered. We know who did it. We saw it happen. No one else did. It falls to Nima Kra, the Emperor's brilliant, idiosyncratic high scholar, to find the killer before the trials end. To do so, she must untangle a web of deadly secrets that stretches back generations, all while competing against 6 warriors with their own dark histories and fierce ambitions. Nima believes she is alone, but we are here to help. All she has to do is let us in. So this one, I'm excited because it really kind of gives you a sense of there's an entity that is part of this story, but it's not giving us any hints at what, who, how, any of that. I like the intrigue that they have in the summary and how it kind of just, it really makes me want to pick up the book. Now, my 10th book is not what I'm going to read the summary of because most of you have an idea of what this book is about. It was extremely talked about last year on BookTube. I can't help but go back and want to read it. And now the second book is coming out this month. My number 10 book is The Heartless Hunter, or if you're in the UK, The Crimson Moth. And that's by Kristen Ciccarelli. I apologize. That is the last name that I am a little not sure about. So this one is about witches and witch hunters and just kind of this revolution. So I'm not going to get super into it because, like I said, it's talked about all over BookTube. Centers around Rune and Gideon, and there's intrigue, there's, you know, kind of it feels like an enemies to lovers, yet not kind of storyline because she's hiding who she is. So this one I'm going to read that probably this month, because I'm really drawn into this book. I really, really want it. I've been looking for a copy off of Pango Books, and yeah, I want the UK copy really bad. So, that's number 10. I am showing the two versions of the cover, the UK and the US, up here, so you guys can see. Love the UK cover, really, really hunting it down. That leads us into number 11, which is Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. And that one comes out on the 18th of February. There are 3 covers that are coming out, and I have each of them up here. There is the UK cover, the US cover, and there is a special edition coming from Barnes & Noble. So I'm very, I still love the UK cover. I think it's gorgeous, but I'd be very interested in seeing the other 2 covers in person to see how much I like them. So this one I will read the synopsis. A witch, Rune Winters, is on the run. Ever since the boy she loved, Gideon Sharp, revealed who she was and delivered her into enemy hands, everyone wants her dead. If Rune hopes to survive, she must ally herself with the cruel and dangerous Cressida Roseblood, who's planning to take back the Republic and reinstate the reign of witches. Something Cressida needs Rune to accomplish. A witch hunter. Apparently, it wasn't enough for Rune to deceive Gideon. She now betrayed him by joining forces with the witch who made his life a living hell. Gideon won't allow the Republic to fall to the witches and be plunged back into the nightmares of the past. In order to protect this new world he fought for, every last witch must die, especially Rune Winters. An impossible choice. When Rune makes Gideon an offer he can't refuse, the two must pair up to accomplish dangerous goals. The more they're forced into each other's company, the more Gideon realizes the feelings he had for Rune aren't as dead and buried as he thought. Now he's faced with a terrible choice. Sacrifice the girl he loves to stop a monster taking back power, or let Rune live and watch the world he fought so hard for burn. Yay. And this is only a duology. So these 2 books are it. So I love the idea of being able to read 2 and be done. Like, that's amazing. Number 12 is Boudicca's Daughter by Elodie Harper. It comes out August 28th. Boudicca, infamous warrior, queen of the British Iceni tribe, and mastermind of one of history's greatest revolts. Her defeat spelled ruin for her people, yet still her name is enough to strike fear into Roman hearts. But what of the woman who grew up in her shadow? The woman who has her mother's looks and cunning, but a spirit all her own. The woman whose desperate bid for survival will take her from Britain's sacred marshlands to the glittering facades of Nero's Roman Empire. Born to a legend, forced to fight, determined to succeed. Meet Selena, Boudicca's Daughter. Now this book comes out on August 28th. It is another later release. It's got a very kind of a Greek-esque cover, which I think is really cool. It makes me think of the cartoon Hercules, the way they did the intro in the beginning. So that is something I really, really like about the cover. It's a very good choice stylistically. So I am hoping that this one turns out to be good. I really do like kind of delving into the children of the gods in a sense, or the children of famous warriors. I think it's a really interesting concept because we have these famous individuals. Well, what about the people they left behind? So I like this idea. Now this one, I'm not going to read the entirety of this synopsis. It's very long. It's the only nonfiction on my list, and it is called The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom by Sherry Frank. Now this centers around the true story of Sherry Frank and her siblings and her mother. And they were part of a viral YouTube channel. Well, I guess I don't want to say viral, but it was watched by like 2.5 million people. And the channel was named 8 Passengers. So it centers around 6 children, of which Sherry is the oldest, and their mother. And it talks about the abuse that they experienced and how, as their popularity grew, how much worse it got. And then on top of that, the mother got very involved with a lady by the name of Jody Hildebrandt, and it just became very cultish for the children, and the abuse and what was called Connections, which was this Jody Hildebrandt's life coaching program. And it goes through the entirety of what these children went through behind the scenes of something that, probably for the 2.5 million viewers that were watching was wholesome and sweet and fun, and, maybe had some not so great moments, but it's just, it definitely kind of brings to light the concept of you don't know what everyone's going through. And I was part of the era of, John and Kate +8 and The Little People and, the TLC boom of all these family shows. I will link all of my book descriptions and everything in my description below. As far as the synopsis, I will have the links to all of those. All right, so the next book that we have is the 14th book on my list, and it is called Afterlife, and it's by Gail Foreman. This one is already out. One spring afternoon after school, Amber arrives home on her bike. It's just another perfectly normal day. But when Amber's mom sees her, she screams because Amber died 7 years ago. Hit by a car while on the very same bicycle she's inexplicably riding now. This return doesn't only impact Amber, her sister Melissa, now 7 years older, must be a new kind of sibling for Amber. Amber's estranged parents are battling over her, and the changes ripple farther and farther out. Amber's friends, boyfriend, and even people she met only once have been deeply affected by her life and death. In the midst of everyone's turmoil, Amber is struggling with herself. What kind of person was she? How and why was she given a second chance? This is I believe it's Manifest, that was based kind of around a similar idea where these people just kind of vanished and then suddenly they're back. So this is just one, so it's probably gonna be, but still the idea of the ripple effects and everything else, very interesting, very, very excited to read this one. And this one is actually already available. We move on to number 15, which is The Bane Witch. And this is by Ava Morgan. It's available next month in March on the 18th. Piers Corbin has always had an affinity for poisonous things, plants and men. From the pokeweed berries she consumed at age 5 that led to the accidental death of a stranger, to the husband whose dark proclivities have become concerning. Poison has been at the heart of her story. But when she fakes her own death in an attempt to escape her volatile marriage, she goes to stay with her estranged great aunt in the mountains. She realizes her predilection is more than a hunger. It's a birthright. Piers comes from a long line of poison eaters, Bane Witches. Women who ingest deadly plants and use their magic to rid the world of evil men. Piers sets out to earn her place in her family's gritty but distinguished legacy, all while working at her Aunt Myrtle's cafe and perpetuating a flirtation with the local well-meaning sheriff to allay his suspicions on the body count she's been leaving in her wake. But soon she catches the attention of someone else, a serial killer operating in the area. And that only means one thing: it's time to feed. So this sounds, how would I put it? Like a comical horror? maybe comical suspense. I don't know. I just couldn't help but enjoy the idea of bad guys getting their comeuppance in kind of a really interesting way. Looking forward to that one. All right, number 16 is called Blood Mosaic, and this is by one of the authors that I absolutely love, and it's Elizabeth Hunter. She is somebody that over the years and years that I've had my Kindle Unlimited subscription, I've read many of her books, many of her series, and this is a brand new one, so I'm excited. A ruthless fire vampire, an unsuspecting human, a bargain that will cost them everything. Tatiana Verona has no idea that she just made a deal with a vampire. When the naive human bookkeeper offers to help locate embezzled funds for a wealthy CEO, she doesn't realize she is being set up as bait. Oleg Sokolov is a fire vampire as ancient as he is vicious. It's bad enough that his daughter stole money from him, but now she sought refuge with one of his bitter rivals. He wants her back under his control, and he doesn't mind using Tatiana to draw her out. But as Oleg spends more time with Tatiana, he begins to want her for more than just revenge. When Tatiana is attacked, Oleg is forced to reveal his true nature to save her. Can he convince her to stay in his bloody world when he's the reason she's in danger? I love Elizabeth Hunter's books. They're fun. They're not something that I would read for the sake of like doing a big in-depth review. I will tell you how much I enjoy the book, but I'm not gonna like copile it or any of that. She just entertains me. And it's a great escape kind of book. Number 17 is The Winter Goddess, and it is by Megan Bernard. This one is actually already out as well. Kalyacht, a goddess of winter, was not born to be a blight on humanity, but she became one. She would say with scorn that it was their own fault. Mortals were selfish, thoughtless, and destructive. All right? Bringing harm to each other and the earth without cause or qualm. One day, Kalyacht goes too far. Thousands die, lost to her brutal winter. In punishment, her mother Danu, queen of the gods, strips the goddess of her powers and sends Kalyacht to earth to live and die as the mortals she so despises, until she is taught a lesson. Though determined to live in solitude, Kalyacht finds that she cannot help but reach for the people she once held in such disdain. She loves and mourns in equal measure. And in opening herself up to humanity, hears tales not meant for immortal ears, including a long-buried secret that will redefine what it means to be a god. Yeah, I like the premise of this story. It's the whole disconnected, we don't care, we're better and bigger and more immortal, so, these tiny human lives don't mean anything. It definitely draws me in. I love the idea of her growing to understand the human condition, in a sense. Number 18 on my list is called The Names, and it's by Florence Knapp. It doesn't come out until May 9th. This is a very different kind of book. In the wake of a catastrophic storm, Cora sets off with her 9-year-old daughter, Maya, to register her son's birth. Her husband, Gordon, a local doctor, respected in the community, but a terrifying and controlling presence at home, intends for her to name their son after him. But when the registrar asks what she'd like to call the child, Cora hesitates. Spanning 35 years, what follows are 3 alternate and alternating versions of Cora's and her young son's lives, shaped by the choice of a name. Just very intriguing to me. Number 19 also comes out on May 6th, and this is The Thrashers by Julie Soto. I've seen a handful of things about this one. This one kind of makes me think of Mean Girls a little bit. Everyone is dying to join them. Welcome to the Thrashers, the exclusive friend group of New Helvetia High. I think that's how you say that. It's Helvetia or Helvetia. They are everything you want to be, and everyone wants to be them. Then there's Jody Dillon, the odd one out. The others, Julian Lucy Page and the infamous Zach Thrasher, are rich, sophisticated, and love being the center of attention. Jody usually feels out of place, but Zach's been her best friend since elementary school, so he says she's in. And no one turns down the chance to be a part of their group, like Emily Mills. She wanted to be a Thrasher more than anything. But then Emily dies, and with her death, the whispers begin to circulate about the Thrashers and what they do to people when they don't want them around anymore. As a newfound journal of Emily's comes to light, detectives begin to circle, and the media spirals out of control, putting Jody in the impossible decision of turning on her friends or protecting her own future. Then a series of increasingly disturbing situations mount into a string of accidents that threaten the very lives of the Thrashers. And one thing becomes clear: Emily is not done with them yet. Okay, so I know I had like a whole Mean Girls comparison at the beginning of this. I am scrapping that. All right, we're going Heathers and Pretty Little Liars, and what's the other one that came to mind? Jawbreaker. All right, so if you know any of those, you might understand where my head's at. But wow, this sounds a little intense, and it sounds fun. So a nice little kind of edge of your seat kind of read. The last book on my list, we're finally at number 20. Yay! Is called Blood Slaves, and it's by Marcus Redman. This one comes out in July on the 22nd. Now, this book, it is a horror, which I am not huge into horror, but the premise behind this story really drew me in. As the last surviving member of an ancient African vampire tribe meets a slave desperate for freedom, and together they lead an army of enslaved people in a cinematically blood-soaked battle for freedom and revenge. What if nobody ever freed the slaves? Because they freed themselves. 150 years before the Civil War. In the province of Carolina, 1710, freedom seems unattainable for Willie, for his beloved Gertie, and their unborn child. They live, suffer, and toil under their brutal master, James Big Jim Barrow, whose grand plantation was built by the blood, sweat, and tears of the enslaved. To flee this hell on earth is to be hunted and killed. Until one strange night, Willie is offered a dark hope by Rafazi, an enigmatic slave with an irresistible and blood-chilling path to liberation. Hailing from the kingdom of Ghana, Rafazi is the lone survivor of the Ramanga, an African vampire tribe rendered nearly extinct by plague. Rafazi has roamed the world for centuries with an undying desire to replenish the power that once defined his heritage. In Willie, Rafazi has found his first biddable subject to be turned and to help in the hungry revolt. Whatever it takes, one by one, as an army of blood slaves thirsting for revenge is gathered, the headstrong Gertie fears that no good can come from the vampiric legacy that courses through Rafazi's veins. Willie knows that only evil can fight evil. And when the woman he loves stands between the re-emergence of the Ramanga and the justified slaughter of the oppressors, Willie must make an irreversible decision. One thing is certain: on the Barrow plantation and beyond, blood will spill. Wow. What an interesting concept. What a fascinating idea. I think this is going to be an incredible read. I am so bummed I have to wait until July to read it and get it. But it is definitely This one is definitely very high up on my list, very outside my normal reads, but just sounds like such an interesting alternate history kind of story. That's it. Woo, we got through the whole page. Well, 8 pages. And I am very excited to let you know that coming up this weekend, my first review and redesign will be posting on Sunday. So I'm excited about that. As you know, I read We Were the Lucky Ones. I mentioned it in my first video. If you've watched it, if you haven't, please go back, meet me. I'm friendly, I promise. But I will do my first redesign and my first review. So I'm very excited to do that, and I look forward to any and all who care to join me. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you hanging out. I will see you next time.